Let's talk about the dark night of the soul. I've heard this phrase. I knew about it. I was aware of it. But I did not know really what it was like and what it was going to be like, and even what it was while I was in the middle of it. But I look back and see what it was. So, disclaimer is this is going to be different for every person. If you're going through any kind of letting go or awakening, you will have a different experience based on your life circumstance, which is completely unique to you. So let's start with the title, The Dark Night of the Soul. Mine could have been titled The Dark 2 Years of the Soul, which also ended a lot of friendships, strained a lot of family relationships, and ended with me getting divorced. It was not good. It led to a beautiful place that I'm even able to talk about it and share about it because I see so clearly now. But when you're in the middle of it, nothing is clear. It's really hard. You often don't have any support. Nobody understands what you're going through. I was recommended counseling and antidepressants and so many things, and I tried almost everything. But at the end of the day, nobody really knew what was going on. They didn't know I was having a real, like a midlife crisis on crack. It was so intense. It was so bad. So I'm going to try to summarize my experience. So if anyone else can relate, or maybe this is helpful, awesome. I hope yours is shorter and faster. Well, I don't. Yours is going to be exactly what you need. So it is what it is. I will tell you on the other side, there's clarity. Don't unalive yourself. Just wait. It's going to happen. You'll be fine. Trust me. I was very close. I had some pretty dark thoughts in these times. Also, mine is very recent, so I can still talk about it without trying to remember 10 years ago. Mine was the last 2 years, really, up until this last month or two, where everything just shifted, turned around. Anyway, hello, bug. All right, so it started. I was a Christian at the time, and I was listening to near-death experience stories, just to set the scene. Now, I was listening to those as I had for the past decade because I had one. I overdosed on drugs a long time ago, 15 years ago, maybe 20. Geez, how old am I? I was probably 20 years ago. Oh, it makes me seem so old. Anyway, I OD'd on drugs. I don't know if my heart stopped or if I died. I never made it to the hospital. I had an out-of-body experience. So ever since then, I've been interested in other people's near-death experience stories and how similar they are and how much relates and how much it made me feel less crazy. But when I had mine, there was just a few books about it. There wasn't YouTube back then. So these last few years, so many stories have been coming out thanks to YouTube that I got crazy with it. I listened to so many. I'd listen to 5 to 10 a day. I kid you not. I would just listen as I'm working because I can have headphones in at work. And the problem with near-death experience stories is the religious side of it. So I was a Christian listening to these, but everybody has these. Doesn't matter what religion you are, and depending on the religion you are, is kind of what God you're going to see first in your experience. And I just started to see how subjective it was, and how a lot of things that people saw or experienced or described about who they saw, what they talked to, their experience, the afterlife, whatever, it didn't line up with the Bible. And that's fine because that was their experience. But the problem came up that my experience didn't line up with the Bible, because at the time I was an atheist, and I ended up in what I would call heaven. I don't know what it was, but that's what it seemed like. So I always had this problem Like, why would an atheist die and go to heaven? Like, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, that started, I won't go into all the details of what I think about that. It doesn't really matter. That started this kind of internal crisis where I started realizing, wait a minute, I'm a Christian. I need to believe that I'm going to heaven and other people that aren't Christians aren't. But all these stories kind of showed me that that wasn't true, and it was pointing to my own experience where I deeply knew that wasn't really the case, but I didn't want to admit it. So it was like a force was pushing me into truth, but my beliefs were saying, no, 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 no. No, that's scary. That's not really what we believe. That's not right. Let's not do this. That's challenging. That goes into territory that's unknown. At the time, I loved seeking and finding and trying to figure things out, you know. So it caused a little rift in my religious beliefs. Now, that rift kept growing. I didn't really realize it. But there did come a point where I meet with a friend of mine. He's a pastor, and another guy. So the three of us meet every Thursday morning. It's awesome. It's like the highlight of my week. And at first we started meeting, and he was kind of, counseling me in the Bible. And it came to a point where I'm pretty honest. So he was talking to me about Jesus once, and I just stopped in mid-sentence and was like, hey, I don't think I believe this anymore. And he's the most accepting, cool Christian I know, so it didn't bother him at all. He just said, okay, well, let's, what else, what do you want to focus these Thursday mornings on? Let's switch it up. So we switched it to my relationship. I was like, you have a good marriage, help me with that. So we did that, we switched. Meanwhile, I'm having this deconstruction thing happen with my religion where I ended up completely just, I wasn't analyzing every single belief. There was just some major ones where one day I remember just telling God, I was like, hey, I can't make this decision because if I'm wrong and I'm going to hell, that's too scary. I can't do that. I'm not going to decide not to be a Christian. So I didn't. I just left it. I decided to not decide. Life decided for me later. A couple weeks later, I just realized I don't believe it, and that's that. So then that came with its own set of challenges. I was married to a Bible teacher. She loves God and Christ and the Bible. And here I am going the opposite direction. So I knew that was going to cause problems, not as much as it did. But wow. So truth came in and kind of started disrupting things. My religion was first. That got disrupted. But what people don't tell you about losing beliefs that big is there is an emotional grieving process. Like I had to go through, a lot of anger was coming up. And I was like, I can't believe this. People lied to me. Why did I believe this for so long? All these years in church were wasted. And, it was just bad. And I was mad. And there I am venting in front of my Christian wife about other Christians. So obviously that wasn't great for her. She had to listen to that. I probably wore her down with all of my complaining, and it was just not good. I didn't handle it well. So all these emotions were coming up, begging to be felt. I was resisting, I was fighting, I was angry about it. Like I wanted truth, but I didn't at the same time because I didn't know it was going to ruin my life and disrupt everything. Then the next thing was the relationship. We were going two different directions. We weren't getting along even before this started happening. And I was always raised that, divorce is wrong. God hates divorce. You can't do that. So the truth, internally, looking back now, I knew it the whole time. I felt it. It wasn't going to work. This was going to end. But externally, we were going to counseling. We were trying. And counseling wasn't going anywhere. Because deep down, I knew it wasn't going to work. So I wasn't really engaging. I wasn't really giving it the effort that I should have. Over time, that relationship disintegrated. We have 3 kids, so that's a challenge. It's hard. It was heartbreaking, but I wasn't feeling it at the time. I was just getting angry. So this is my probably a year and a half into my dark night of the soul. All my religious beliefs were up for question, were up for grabs. I lost some friends. I had a lot of strained relationships. My marriage started failing. And I had a really noticeable shift in the middle of the worst time in my life. I was in panic survival mode. I had all sorts of I don't know if it was depression, epic bouts of sadness where I just was barely functioning. I ended up getting fired from a job because I blew up on who was that? Oh, that was the owner of that job. It was just over something small. I just lost my cool and I freaked out on him and just, was like, "You're an idiot," and whatever. It was bad. I got fired for that, which I should have. If I was him, I would have fired me too. It was obnoxious. It was uncalled for. But I could not contain my emotions. They were all over the place. Anybody looking in would think he's got issues, he needs help, like there is something wrong with this guy, because I was functional, and then it got worse and worse and worse and worse. I lost my religion. I lost my marriage. And at this point, I'm thinking, there's nothing left. There's nothing left to lose. Why am I alive? I hate this. I have nothing. There's no meaning. And I was losing the idea that anything had meaning. So I slipped into, what's the word for that? Nihilism, I think. Where it was just, I look around and think, who cares? None of this matters. I could go to work. I could die. I could be replaced. If none of my friends or family saw me again, it wouldn't matter. Like nothing I do matters. Even if I do something good, it doesn't matter. That was rough. The meaninglessness of everything part was rough. Oh. So I came to a place. The reason I got fired from my last job started happening again. I was getting angrier and angrier, and I did the same thing. I blew up on my manager. You're not supposed to do that. And I came in one day, and this boss is a lot more people oriented. He's kinder. He's not as much for the money as my last boss was. And he just got in my face. He was mad. He's just said, "Dude, you can't act like this. What are you doing? Like I don't want you here if you're going to be like this. Like you need to get it together." Pretty much is what he was saying. And he sent me home. He's like, "Just get out of here. Just don't come back until you figure it out." So my stomach was turned in knots. This was like the day before something broke. So everything was gone. I'm losing everything. I might be losing my job again. I don't have a religion. I don't have a wife anymore. I'm like trying to maintain some kind of just base survival. I ended up calling him back about an hour later, my boss, and I was really humble, and I just said, "Dude, I don't know what's going on. I can't control my emotions. I know I'm out of line." And I remember crying on the phone with my boss. Yeah, that's a humble moment right there. And he was super cool. And he just maybe gave me truth without realizing it. He just said, "Aaron, you need to probably just go have a good cry or something. Like, just go let it out. Like, just do something." Anyway, I got off the phone with him and I tried and I couldn't. It was just like, if you could imagine like Pandora's box, like all the emotions, but reverse it, just like stuff it back in the box and put it inside of me. That's how I felt. I didn't know how to get rid of it. I didn't know how to get it out. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't a feeler. I don't cry very often. My 4-year-old daughter always tells me, "Dad, you never cry," because that's what she saw. Now I tear up around her probably every day because of the beauty of just every moment with her is so fantastic. Anyway, I felt like I was either going to implode or just like do something really dumb, really rash. So I went home. I laid flat on the floor on my back. And I just let the strongest feeling that I've ever had hit me. And I sobbed. I cried so hard. And I was shaking and like vibrating, and my body was wigging out. It was ugly. Honestly, it was freaky. If somebody ever saw it, thank God I was by myself. They would think I was being exorcised. I had a demon. Anyway, when it broke, when my body felt it, when it finally got through, I got up and I felt a little better. I wasn't aware anything happened. I felt a lot better. I got up and I thought, okay, cool, I can do this. I can function. I feel something good happened. It was new for me. It had never happened like that before. I went back to work. I apologized to everybody. Ended up finishing mediation with my wife really well, respectfully. It was like the most peaceful, calm divorce that I've ever heard of. Everybody else that describes theirs, mine was not like that. That manager I blew up on, I apologized to, also cried all over myself while I was apologizing to him. That was new. I'm like, why am I crying in front of other people? This is not okay. I don't do that. Talked to my boss, cried again. Seemed like every person I talked to for the next week, tears came out. And eventually I had this intuitive feeling like, well, just let it happen, because we don't want to stuff it again and get all angry. So I just let it happen. What I didn't realize was happening was I was letting my body just be exactly what it needed in every single moment. If it needed to laugh, it laughed. If it needed to cry, it cried. And there was no judgments. I didn't realize that either. There was no thoughts. I wasn't judging. I was just actually letting myself feel in every single moment. And I wasn't aware of this at the time. But then something started happening after like everything culminated to this intense moment. Something broke, something popped, something opened up. I was also meditating and working on, detaching from thoughts and all this stuff at the same time, but I was so troubled it wasn't going very well. Anyway, I'll try to wrap the story up. That was long. It was rough. It was a rough 2 years. I let all the emotion out. Something broke, but then that didn't stop happening. It just kept happening. So the sensitivity I had as a child seemed like it came back. I often tear up or openly cry now in front of really anybody that I'm talking to. It just depends on what we're talking about. A lot of things make me have emotion. I used to be scared of that and resist it, and I just don't now. And then I've been in situations like somebody road raging, freaking out on me, somebody screaming at me, somebody getting mad at me at work, my ex-wife being triggered by things that I've said or done, and I don't have a reaction anymore. And it's so new and so interesting that I just keep waiting. It's almost like, well, am I going to have one today? Am I going to react badly today? I don't go around thinking that, but now that I'm talking about it, it's kind of just funny. But it hasn't happened. And not that I'm perfect. Everyone's in a process, and I'm sure this will deepen, and I will see more things. But here's the difference I've noticed. Before, I would want to do shadow work. I'd want to sit down, like schedule a time and like think about it and do it and like come out the other side better or more aware or with more knowledge than before I went in. That doesn't happen anymore. But the shadow work is instant. So somebody might say something that I don't like, and in a second, the process will happen. Like, oh, why don't I like this? Oh, you're believing this. This is happening. Oh, you need to release that. It's released. Oh, you need to let this emotion out that's attached to this belief. I cry. It's released. The belief's gone. Like, all that happens now in every moment of my life. When I wake up, when I'm going to bed, when I'm watching a YouTube video, every thought, there's no effort. There's no more effort given. It's like life just said, hey, we'll take over from now. You don't need to put any more effort. Like, you tried hard enough. We got this. And it just happens instantaneous. And that's why I just wanted to share that, because I know some people are going through it. And based on the videos that I post that do well or get more attention, I know there's a lot of people out there that are in process or in the dark night of the soul that just want something to change, or they want help, or they want to hear somebody else that this has happened to. And there is more peace on the other side of the most unrest I've ever felt in my life, in the dark night of the soul. And it was a dark 2 years, guys. It was not, oh, I had a bad day and now I'm awake. So many emotions had to come up and be felt, and my life had to just be ripped apart, because I was living an idea of a life that I thought is what I should be living. It was not true for me. I was in an unhappy marriage. I was in a religion I didn't believe in. I was being thrown around by my emotions because I was stuffing things and not feeling them. All the ways I was living was not true. So of course, when truth showed up in me, it destroyed everything that I had built, because of what I built was false. So yes, I lost everything. It was really hard. But now it's not hard. I have moments of sadness, and I let myself feel that. And it goes through, and then I'm absolutely fine. It's like watching a kid. I have 3 toddlers, so they're great teachers. I mean, they will just let their emotions happen. They have no judgments. They don't stop them. They are, you know exactly what they're feeling at all times. And an awakened adult is really similar to a toddler. They're just more mature. It's a little less intense and more appropriate, but it's not because you're trying. It's just how it is. So I know that was longer than most of my videos. I didn't mean it to be super long. My dark night of the soul was about 2 years. There's a lot of unhappy years before those 2, but those 2 were just the really intense ones. Truth came and burned through everything in my life that was false. I fought it, I resisted, I flailed around like a wild, dying animal. Something shifted, and now I'm living in a place that's more peaceful and more restful than anything I have ever experienced in my 37 years of life. Everything I wanted counseling to achieve, drugs to achieve, any other thing that I wanted to try, relationships, church, all the things that I wanted to give me this feeling that I currently have did not work. What worked was being absolutely truthful and honest with what I want and what I'm feeling in every single moment of my life. Now, if you have years of building a life on what other people want, or false premises, or beliefs that aren't even true, it's going to be really hard, and your dark night of the soul might be more intense than other people's. Oh, and childhood trauma. Yeah, all that came up too. Crazy stuff I didn't even remember happened to me as a kid. All that came up. Everything had to be felt. And it's gone now. It has no power. It has no foothold. Not saying there won't be more stuff to come up, but nothing has been able to trigger me since. And it's not like I'm trying to be peaceful. I'm just resting in it now because all the untruth was burnt up. I'm going to turn around and enjoy this view. You got to look at it the whole time. It's my turn.